Gotta kick off the show here.
We're agreeing.
So cleaned up. All righty, Bills Mafia, what is up? Welcome to the Mafia Cast, brought to you by Game On Sports. Welcome back, John. How you doing?
Real good, real good. I think I'm finally over the stinging loss again.
Yeah, I don't know about being. I don't know. I actually got kudos from my mom that some of my stuff that I was writing and putting out there was positive, and I basically told her, so we didn't see what I was doing behind the scenes, so we're good.
Yeah. We're moving on more.
We're moving on.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're moving on. I don't know about you guys, but I haven't watched a single ESPN, no NFL Network. I haven't even listened to, I think, one podcast I listened to since the game. That's just how I move on, though. I can't dwell on it. I can't beat myself up over it because I had nothing to do with it, obviously. You want to be there and, like, I want to fix this, but, you can't. What do you guys do after a big, heartbreaking loss like this?
I definitely declined with my consuming of the TV, just like you did. But yeah, try to think about the future, things like that. Take away some positives.
What about you guys, Casey, John?
John, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of went into hiding for a couple days.
Yeah.
No radio, no TV. I tried to stay off of Facebook, just because I didn't want to see any of the, negative comments of, oh, here we go again, or we need to go through and do this, or go through and do that, or, McDermott's got to go, or, whatever. Just, I needed a couple days to reset.
Right.
Yeah. And, that's the worst part, I think, of doing content, both the podcast and the written, is having to see and hear all of that stuff. I've really tried this week to refrain from counterattacks, if you will, because I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that's being said out there. I think I've made my point here on this show a few times that I don't think that Sean McDermott should be let go. And I still believe that. I don't think we even would have got to where we were had it not been for him. I am, on that note, though, kind of excited about the team having an actual defensive coordinator. Casey, I'll start with you because I know we didn't even put this in our banners. It wasn't even in our notes, and I totally forgot about it. But we do need to talk about this. We got a new OC. Well, not new, but and the DC. Well, I'll start with Casey on the defensive coordinator and Bobby Babich. What's your initial thoughts on that?
I mean, everything he's touched for the Bills has turned gold. I mean, he came in, he joined the Bills, as a safeties coach. Mike and I, Jordan Boyer came in, and bam! I mean, all pros, Pro Bowlers, you name it, they've done it. Moves down to linebacker, gets Matt Milano to be a first team All Pro. Mm-hmm. Gets Tremaine Edmonds, multiple Pro Bowls, got him a monster contract from the Bears. And now McDermott says, "Hey, let's see if he can do that with the entire defense." And like we all expected, it was either promote him or lose him because he was getting a lot of interviews to be other teams' DCs. Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy with it. I'm excited to see. I'm very curious to see whether he's going to be calling the plays or if it'll still be McDermott calling the plays. I haven't seen one way or the other yet, so I'm curious to see how that's going to work. And I'm excited to see the new wrinkles that he's going to put into the defense.
I did hear today that Brandon Bean is out at Mobile, Alabama right now for the Senior Bowl, which we'll talk a little bit about that later too. And he was asked just that question as far as calling the plays, and he said that is a decision that has not yet been made. I don't know. John, what do you think about this situation? Do you think he should call the plays, or maybe he's the DC for a year, let McDermott call the plays for one more year, and then kind of learn and take over after that? Or should he just jump right in like with what Ken Dorsey did?
I'd feel a lot better if McDermott was still calling the plays. At least for maybe half the season, maybe 3/4, and then go from there. I just, anytime there's no doubt in my mind that Babbage doesn't know what he's doing. I don't necessarily want to throw him to the wolves though. Maybe kind of let him ease into it and, still go with McDermott calling the plays for now.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you agree with that, Mike, or do you have another idea?
Yeah, I kind of like how Dorsey went out and Joe Brady came in and kind of just hit the ground running. It makes me a lot more comfortable with it. He's been learning under McDermott's system for years. So yeah, take what they have now. Kind of maybe he'll be able to have more input, put more of his ideas, add that in there, and kind of like Joe Brady did with the offense. And we might see something, maybe a little uptick in our defense if we can. I mean, we play at a really high level on defense, but maybe a different opinion or a different look here or there might spark something.
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of like where I'm at with the offensive coordinator deal too. Joe Brady, I'm excited to see what he does with this offense. I'm excited to see Joe Brady's offense, not Joe Brady calling Ken Dorsey's offense. And that's what we had last season, right? It was totally Ken Dorsey's offense. And so now Brady's going to have a full off season to work with these guys and build his style of offense around them. And we'll get into a little bit more here later because we did ask that question on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, about what it was from 2023 that gets you most excited about 2024. And there was a lot of comments revolving around Joe Brady. So we'll kind of get back to that later on in the show, talk about that. We'll read some of those responses on there too. Roy said Eric Washington took a DC job knowing he wouldn't be calling plays, so it wouldn't surprise me if Babbage won't either. There's been some comments with that too, and some people are kind of surprised that Babbage would take a DC job if he's not going to actually call the plays. So it does kind of make me wonder if there's a plan in place for him to call plays maybe later down the road. Because you kind of almost wish that they would have done that with Dorsey, right? Maybe that year before Dayball left, you let Dorsey kind of start to learn that part of the game because it really did feel like Dorsey struggled with calling plays, but then in year two, it was more of the same. So I don't guess he really learned anything. But yeah, I'm excited for it to see what happens. I'm excited to see the Bills next season. But I don't know, you guys. We got Kansas City and San Francisco for this coming up Super Bowl. Neither team that I was rooting for won, which is pretty much the norm. So I told my wife, I said, maybe next year I need to root for the Chiefs all season long. They'll lose, and then maybe Buffalo will get one. But what did you guys think about the conference championship games? John, I'll start with you on that. Were you surprised that Kansas City dominated the way they did?
Not really. Unfortunately, Mahomes is turning into a mini Brady. And it's just, you can't count him out. Even if the offense hasn't been clicking all year and, it just seems like they're missing something and, they find a way to win, which, kudos to Reed, but, I think Mahomes has just got something in him, kind of like Brady, that, he's not going to lose and he's going to do whatever it takes to win. So I believe me, I would have loved to have seen Baltimore go, but Mahomes is just, he's tough to get by.
Yeah. Right, Casey?
I mean, when Brady had his down years was when Belichick and the defense not carried the team, but was able to do what Kansas City did and only give up 3 points in the second half in the AFC Championship game. I mean, like it was always counterproductive for the Patriots. If the defense was having a bad year, it was when you saw Brady, go out and throw for 4,800 yards, 45 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions in a year. And that's how they would win that year. And then, like I said before, there were other years when Brady only threw for 4,000 yards and 32 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, but the defense was number 1 in the league. So to me, it's it's just kind of one of those things where I mean, John's right. It's just turning into another Patriots dynasty to where if one part of the team is off, the other part picks them up. And I mean, that defense, I've been second guessing them, since they started building it a couple years ago, saying they're too young. I wasn't, I just wasn't huge on the players they were drafting. And I mean, I was wrong all about it. I mean, Karlaftis is an animal. McDuffie is an animal. I would have never guessed.
Man.
I would have never guessed
That's the one I wanted
Speed
Buffalo to get.
would have turned around like his career the way he has coming over from the 49ers. It's really annoying. I'll say that. It's just really annoying.
Yeah. You're talking about Mahomes. Shortly before we went on the show, you guys know who Brady Quinn is?
Yep.
Okay. He put out his top 5 all-time quarterbacks. And he had Brady, number 1, Montana, number 2, and freaking Mahomes, number 3. I guess for me, it drives me crazy our society puts so much emphasis on the accolades, the team accolades, Super Bowl wins, all-time wins, AFC Championship games, and I get all of that, but it's a team game.
Yeah.
And there's just other quarterback. Dan Marino. Okay, I brought this up in fact, and I don't know if too many people saw it, but I can't remember. Oh my gosh, what is his name? The linebacker. He's got 6 Super Bowls, 6 Super Bowl wins. So does that make him the second greatest player of all time? A linebacker.
No, but like the quarterback's always like the face of the team,
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what you're saying.
If you're going to apply Super Bowl wins to that position, then why wouldn't it apply to the other positions? Do they not have an important job? Is it just the quarterback that's winning these games?
It's because that is part of the conversation. It's not the main point of the conversation, but it is still a part of the conversation. If you're talking about starting, starting the best of the best, 7 Super Bowls is going to be, a part of the conversation. Getting to 10 is going to be part of the conversation. Mahomes going to 6 straight AFC championships, to start his career, and getting to what 3 or now 4 Super Bowls. I don't remember how many it is at this point.
This will be
that's
4.
That's one of, if not the top, start to a career. I mean, at least I know it is for an AFC championship. I mean, so the trajectory he's on, I mean, he could definitely put himself into that conversation. And I understand it's a team game, but it's still, what your team accomplishes as the most important player on the team. So you carry most of that burden. So you deserve you reap most of that reward on the same time. Not that I think wins are quarterback stat. I mean, solely no, but when you talk about the scheme of getting to and winning a Super Bowl, that's where you can be when the numbers get outrageous, that's when it really starts to kick in, like it has for Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I get all that. And I think the only reason why they really bothers me so much is because, like, how many times this season and even in the past have we seen Allen drive the team down the field for the winning or go ahead points or whatever, only to lose it, um, because of the defense or whatever. And uh, what's his name? Something Thad. He covers the Bills. He posted up there
Thad Brown.
Thad Brown. Yeah,
Yeah.
he posted up there that Mahomes finishes it himself. He's like, I'm not saying that Josh Allen isn't good enough to win, but the difference is Mahomes goes out there and finishes it himself. So my question to that was, how many of those games that he finished himself, quote unquote, did he have the ball last? Because when Josh Allen had the ball, he put the team in a position to win. So if the team doesn't win, how is that on him? You see, like it drives me crazy. And I can put the current times and I compare this back to the 80s and 90s watching Jim Kelly. And even then, I don't ever remember at any point at that time thinking, man, Jim Kelly's the best quarterback in the league. I honestly didn't. You
Yeah.
had guys like John Elway, Dan Marino, Randall Cunningham, Joe Montana. I mean, the league was just full of great quarterbacks. And even though he got or led the team to 4 consecutive Super Bowls, I never once said, this guy's the greatest ever. He's the best in the league right now. Josh Allen's different to me. Like the things that I see him do on the field is just ridiculous. You guys probably saw this stat, like 5 of 6 when he attempts a pass with less than a tenth of a yard of the sideline. The rest of the league is 1 for 22 in that situation. The things that he does is astronomically just impressive. And I continue to see him getting bashed by the media and not getting what to me is the respect that he deserves. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I'm sorry I went on a tangent and a rant.
But it's just because they're winning and we're not, basically. The other teams in the spotlight, we're in the past now this season, and that's really all they're going to talk about. I think Casey's
And
muted.
I mean, that's
We're the 13-year-old little brother who's trying to hang out with like the 16-year-old brother. We really are. I mean, because every now and then we get a nice shot on him, and we take and we put him on the ground, but then the playoffs come and Big Brother just comes around and puts us in a headlock, and we're like, God damn it! Like we can't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like we're slowly getting older. We're getting better. It's one of those things. We are going to catch them eventually, but right now it's
I
just
hope so.
not it yet.
I'm sure Dan Marino thought he was going to catch Buffalo at some point, and he just never did.
I don't care. Josh Allen. Josh Allen is too good of a football player to not win a singular Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, we were once again one pass, one catch away, one drop ball, whatever you want to call it. So we're still right there. I mean, it was so close, and then to see, Lamar when we're all rooting for the Ravens to beat the Chiefs, and then for him to throw that pick right at the end of the game, and it's like, wow, it's like. I don't know. I don't know if Josh Allen would have done that bad. That was very ugly.
Well, and let's be honest,
It
Allen
just goes
has
to
done
show
that
you that
before,
the
just not in
Ravens,
the playoffs, though.
Yeah, the Ravens made it all the way there and did that. Like, I don't know. If it was us in that game, it would have been.
Yeah, and that's the other part of all of this too, is that you look at Allen's numbers and there's just as good as Mahomes. Just at the end of the game, he's not the one with the ball in his hands when the clock strikes 0, and that's been the problem. I'm not saying that I don't think the defense is good enough to get it done. Just the last 2 seasons, it's just been injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I don't know, we just weren't good enough yet. But Roy here kind of asked a question: who do you think had better offensive weapons the past 2 seasons, Buffalo or KC? I sometimes wonder if, because we're Bills fans, we think our players are better than they actually are. Because sometimes I'm like, why is our offense not putting up 30, 40 points every single week? Why does it look like sometimes we struggle? We put up, 22, 20, 23, something like that against the Chargers defense that was just garbage. Same thing with the Broncos. We can go on and on with the season. But what do you guys think? have we had the better offensive weapons in the last 2 years compared to the Chiefs, or vice versa, or maybe the same?
I'd say it's more the same than one is very much better than the other. I mean, you say the last 2 seasons, and then you think about Tyreek Hill. I mean, he was a game changer for them. I mean, I thought it was going to be a huge hit when they traded him, but I mean,
I think we all did.
yeah,
Yeah.
but obviously it wasn't. But right now it doesn't seem like they have a better weapons than us, and I don't feel like ours, like if you're thinking we're biased a little, I don't think ours are that much better than theirs either. But we do have Diggs. I mean, I think he is probably the best receiver out of both teams, but we haven't seen what we wanted to see out of him this year. So I don't know, it's sort of situational, I guess. And I'm starting to think that, the Bills we just need that luck, that we just haven't got the luck at the right time with the injuries or, a bad play here or there. I believe at this point it's coming down to just we got to have that luck moving forward. And, as much as people want to bash coaches or players or this or that, I think that's it.
There's some
aside from
aspect of
health,
luck
I
to
mean,
it.
injuries is a little bit of bad luck, but you stay
Yeah.
healthy and a couple things go the other way. We're maybe singing a
I mean,
different tune right now.
you say that, and it's funny because you think back to these 2 playoff games for Buffalo and the Chiefs, both of their last 2 playoff games. The Chiefs led the league in drop passes. I don't think they dropped a single pass in the playoffs. Josh Allen was one of the top turnover guys, number 2, I think, behind Sam Howell in the league in the regular season for turnovers. Didn't turn the ball over a single time in the playoffs. Yet we can't get that freaking win. Like they did everything that Chiefs game. You look at it, we beat them in every category except the scoreboard. Like it just doesn't make any sense. So you're right to an extent. There is some luck involved.
Yeah.
But so let me just read a couple of comments here. Ken Cardi, oh, we're waiting for Bill's luck.
Yeah.
I think the point is we don't have any of that and haven't for a long, long time. I would say since the Music City Miracle, probably. John Robert, I wonder if Justin Shorter would show anything. I really don't have a clue. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one to see. Obviously, hopefully, we hope that he does something, and I mean, shoot, maybe he becomes the next Justin Jefferson. We don't know.
So he's a rookie last year, right? Or this year? Yeah.
Yeah, and pretty much was IR most of the season.
Yeah.
So for the
I
offensive
think I saw
weapon,
enough from him in the preseason that there might be something there. But go ahead, Casey.
I was gonna say I think it's got to be. Well, there's one difference maker because Diggs and Kelsey wash each other. As number one options in my opinion, and then to me, Kincaid and Rashid Rice as number 2 options wash each other. So then you're getting down to, all right, who's their 3rd and 4th option? Well, in my opinion, James Cook and Isaiah Pacheco, they're pretty much a wash. Pacheco's a better runner, but Cook does a little bit more of everything. They've kept McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, on the roster to be those pass-catching running backs. So to me, I mean, you're looking at the number 4 option. I would take Khalil Shakir over what Marquez Valdez-Scantling, or Nicole Harden at this point, or Kadarius Toney. I think, especially moving forward, I think he, like going into year 3 next year, I think he's destined to have a pretty good year. And I don't see, maybe one of those guys that I named, Tony, Hardman, or MVS, or even on the Chiefs next year. So I think, we have better weapons, but just slightly. But with Diggs getting older, Kelsey getting older, Kincaid and Rashid Rice both being as young as they are, and the running backs being not hit or miss, but not the focal point of the offense. I think it's a real tight battle, but I think the Bills have it by just a slim margin.
How about Gabe Davis on a good day?
To be honest, I literally just forgot about Gabe Davis.
Right. But Gabe on a good day.
There's a
That
reason
shows
for
how
that.
much
That's where that
yeah.
luck thing plays in. It's
Yep.
like, what the heck?
But so thinking about Gabe Davis, he's somebody that he was a 5th round pick, and he played well his rookie year because he was, the number 3-4 wide receiver. He got to play behind Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley. And then the next year, his second year, all right, he steps into the wide receiver 2 role, but he's still young. He's still a 5th round wide receiver. Plays all right, had 35 catches his first 2 years. And then his 3rd year, all right, wasn't that good. 4th year, it's like, it seems like he's not gotten worse every year, but I feel like he hasn't gotten any better. It's just the volume of targets and usage has gone up. So I think, he was a 5th round pick for a reason. And I love Gabe and everything he does, all the small thing he does, like the rest of us. But it's just one of those things, I feel like we can get that production just about out of any, quality wide receiver 3. I feel like Tyler Boyd could have been putting up the same numbers that he is. I think if Shakir got the opportunities he did, Gabe, he could have easily put up Gabe's numbers. So I think it's just one of those, we had he blew out our expectations right out of the beginning. And then he set the bar so high that it was almost impossible for him to meet it. So the fact that he didn't, I'm kind of tempering, not my anger, but I guess the disappointment in the fact that he didn't pan out to be a stud quality wide receiver 2. But just looking back and truly thinking about it, it was kind of an unfair, realistic expectation that Bills Mafia kind of put out there.
Yeah.
Roy says, "Good luck, Gabe, on your next team next season, or your new team next season." John, do you want Davis back?
No, I could do without
never
him.
mind the financial parts of it, but
Yeah, no, money aside, I don't want him back. There's certain things we can count on, every game, every season. Josh is going to throw a pick. Gabe's going to go through and have 1 out of 5 games to give us enough hope that he's a solid number 2 receiver. And then those other 4 games, he just, he's nowhere to be found. So, we could go through and find that with anybody. If you're going to get a guy that's good in 20% of the games, we could go through and draft him in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, or, go to the CFL and get him. I mean, there's really, I don't see any upside to keeping him.
Especially in this year's draft. There's a lot of good receivers in this draft, and we'll future shows we'll get more into that. But what did you have, Mike?
I just, kind of the same, and hearing John say it, it really makes you feel a lot more comfortable with it. I mean, and as time goes on, as we've just seen his usage kind of, go down considerably, and it's like you get comfortable. Like Casey said, he pretty much just forgot about him. We were talking about our offensive weapons. I mean, when you start thinking and talking like that, it's hard to, say you love him and you got to have him next year.
Yeah. I personally don't think he comes back. I think for a couple of reasons. One, I don't know. Well, I think money will be the reason. I think there'll be a team like the Giants that might throw a little bit more money at him than what Buffalo is willing to give or even can afford. There was a question here.
Positive too to take from it is that we'll be saving a little there.
Yeah,
that's my
he's going to be
hope.
overpaid wherever he goes.
I think so.
And I hope that some team throws the bag at him, and I hope he explodes because, like I said, I'd like Gabe.
Yeah.
It's just the inconsistency for me from
Absolutely.
what he showed this past year, to where maybe it's just one of those things. The team and the player ran their course, and they both need to get better by being apart.
Yeah, I'll root for Gabe as long as we're not playing against him.
I mean, honestly, though, if you see Gabe going to the Giants or the Raiders or whoever, do you really think he's going to explode with one of those quarterbacks when he couldn't with Josh?
Exactly. Right. That's a great point. That's a great point. Watch him go to the Chiefs.
Let me Let me kind of shift over to the defensive side really quick because we're talking about Gabe Davis, and there's a guy on the defensive side who is a pending free agent, and there's been a lot of conversation whether or not the Bills should try to re-sign him or not, and that's AJ Epinesa. And I bring him up in comparison to Gabe Davis because I feel like it's almost the same thing on the defensive side. A couple big games, and then he disappears, and we don't hear from him. And then he has a big game, and then he disappears. We don't hear anything again. That's another one. You guys, would you want him back? Do you want him back? I think last time I looked, Spot Track had him projected market value around $6 million, which isn't terrible. I think Buffalo can do that, but at $6 million, would you want that, or would you rather that money being spent elsewhere?
I like him a lot. I really do. He got that one pick, diving interception, and then he kind of got injured for at least a couple weeks. And I feel like that's part of the reason. Maybe he wasn't just able to be there consistent. But I do think when he's in the game, he is making plays. He is making a difference. Batting balls, getting after the quarterback. I really do think he's a great player, and he still has room to improve too.
Let me just really quick address Joey's comment here. Everybody's on Gabe Davis. Nobody bitching about stuff on Diggs. If you watched last week's show, trust me, I went on my rant about Stephon Diggs, and
we tore him apart.
Casey likes to Casey is giving me crap about kind of being hard on Diggs sometimes, but yeah, I agree. If you're an elite receiver, one of the top 5 in the league, you got to be making more plays than he was.
Yeah, and
he was still getting the targets. Not like he wasn't getting targeted.
Yeah, and usually when I attribute a loss to things like drop passes and things like that, he's usually in that conversation, whether his name's mentioned or not. I mean, I think it's kind of given.
Yeah, see, Roy Epinesa and Floyd disappeared down the stretch, but AJ on a reasonable deal would be fine.
Yeah,
Floyd, oh my goodness,
we might be losing Floyd too, so all the more reason.
Yeah,
to
he's a pending. Yeah, and I'm kind of on the fence with Floyd too because he had, I think, 10.5 sacks on the season, and then not a single sack over the last 5, counting the 2 playoff games or last 6 games or something like that. I know it's at least 5. So, yeah, and he's 32, I believe. So did he hit a wall too? Like, I think the Bills need to keep all 10 of their draft picks this year and need to have an influx of youth on the defensive side of the ball. Go ahead, Casey. What's on your mind?
You got a better chance of seeing a snowball in hell before Brandon Beane.
I agree.
Draft.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Not disagreeing at all with that. But
so the Leonard Floyd thing, Leonard Floyd. I think it was more so they brought him in to be a situational pass rusher. They wanted to pair him with Von on the other side. I think they really wanted to use Groot and AJ and Shaq as their main, first down, second down defensive ends because all 3 are so good at stopping the run. But AJ's kind of that guy who's a little bit of a mix of both. He had 6.5 sacks again on the year after being injured and being defensive end 3/4 again. So I think if we lose, Leonard Floyd, AJ Epinesa just steps up into that role to be defensive end 3, and I think he can put in, give us 10.5 sacks. If Von just isn't it anymore, and AJ ends up coming in and starting, I could definitely see him being the guy that could anchor us, just given if he stays healthy and given the reps to do so, because he's never been given starter reps. And we saw in the beginning of the year when that's when he was making his biggest impact. He was getting that tip pick off Patrick Mahomes. He was getting the quarterback multiple times a game. So I think he'll be the cheaper, younger Leonard Floyd for us next year.
I feel like it could be him and Groot in the future. Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny that you mentioned if he got full-time reps, starter reps. Does anybody on that defensive line get full-time starter reps?
This year,
aside from Ed Oliver, who had 80% plus every single week, and it kind of showed in the playoffs, especially against the Chiefs, where he was a non-factor. Of course, the whole defensive line was a non-factor in that game, but But that
you
kind of
could-
goes back to my
the
point about
defender.
I hate the rotational thing. I hate it. Like put
Yeah.
your best players on the field. I get it. Pull them out, give them a break, rest them up. I understand that. But when every single one of them is getting 25 to 30%,
Yeah.
there's no way you have 6 starters on the team. It's not true. It just doesn't happen. And they always talk about your best 11 on the field. So stop pulling them off the field.
Yeah.
Like even with Von Miller, he was clearly not a best 11. He did not need to be on that field last year. But
That's what I was going to say with him. He couldn't play, start all the snaps. So, just what Von Miller was going through, kind of put that wrench into that idea. Because you had to play him, you had to try him out. You had to give him a chance to make the big play, especially near the end of the season. But you can't have him play the whole season either. If he's really, I think we all know he wasn't really 100%.
And
he
that's
just
that's
got the brace
thing.
off at the end of the year.
We're a bunch of Joe Schmoes on the side of the street watching football, and we can see that he doesn't have the same burst. If we can see it, they have to see it. So quit putting him on the field until he's actually ready to go.
Yeah,
because
you could have IR'd him all year, honestly.
Yeah, you could have IR'd him all year. You could have gotten more playing time for some of the younger guys like Epinesa, like Rousseau, who I still believe that Rousseau is going to be an impactful player in this league on this team. He's already one of the better run defenders in the game as far as edge players go. And I just feel like that the pass rush part of that is coming. But those guys were losing snaps because he was on the field.
Yeah.
And I think it cost the team. Now, yeah, in the playoffs, you did start to kind of see that a little bit more. You started to see him affect the game a little bit more. But I think he came back after the first 4 weeks, so 13, 14, 15 games. I don't think he had a single sack. Not one.
Nope.
Not even accidentally get a sack. Like the quarterback
Von
trips and he
Miller,
touches
he
him.
had
That didn't even
Von
happen.
Miller, 5 tackles on the year.
Yep.
5.
It's crazy. And you're telling me that guy needed to be on the field? Yeah.
He
and that's
he
part
probably
of,
really wanted to. Von
I'm
himself
sure.
is like, I'm ready to go. I can do this.
Okay.
So that's
I'm sorry. It's funny you say that because I was listening to I don't know if I can't remember if it was Bean or McDonald. I think it was Bean talking about talking about Benford getting on the field in that Chiefs game and how badly Benford or Bernard wanted to be out there.
All
and
right.
he made the comment about sometimes as coaches we have to save the players from themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have applied that same rule to Von Miller. If Von was in fact saying, I'm good, I can go play. As a coach, you should see that, no, you're not. You can't play. You're not ready. Sit on the bench, whatever. We're going to stick you on IR, whatever the case may be. But that's one of those moments where I do blame McDermott and the coaching staff. Again, I don't think he should get fired because of a few decisions here and there that I personally don't agree with. But
you make some risky decisions too, especially.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't. You're not going to hit every time. You know what I mean? It's just
you're not.
Like even the 4th and 5
Max,
thing. It's like you said, it works. He's a hero, and that's a high risk play. But no guts, no glory. You got to try.
Maximilian, AJ still hasn't answered enough questions, in my opinion, when it counts the most. Offer a prove-it deal, incentive-laden. Bigger concern for me is who will be our new D-line coach and impact they can have. Eric Washington was a former defensive line coach. Are you guys – I'll start with Casey on the question. Do you think that's a significant loss or no? Is it kind of a wash who we bring back in to replace him?
I mean, I got to answer your question with a question. Like, has our defensive line, exploded and been as phenomenal as it should have been for the amount of assets that has been put into it? Multiple second-round picks, first-round pick, $160 million to just one player, bringing in Tim Settle, Poona Ford, Daquan Jones, Leonard Floyd. I mean, they put, I think, not this past year, but the year previous, 2022-23, we spent the most money on the defensive line in the NFL. With basically nothing to show for it. You know, nobody came up big when we needed to. Ed Oliver, of course, he took a big step this year, but I think it's just one of those. He finally settled into his role. He had a great one tech next to him. He had Groot, who's really growing up into a player. So I attribute it, like, is it getting better slowly? Yes. I just think that the system, like, it's not getting as good fast enough as everybody wants it to. So I think they're just kind of one of the, like, it's one of those, maybe the guys just need it, like, you know, they need a new flavor. They just need to hear a new voice, a new different opinion. Because sometimes, you know, it gets stale. You know, the same person telling you the same thing all the time. And like now it's just, all right, try just something new. Something's got to give. This is also the exact same argument people have for getting rid of McDermott, but that's another argument for another podcast on another day.
Let's see what 2024 looks like with McDermott.
That's a much more important role, I think, to be toying with.
Yeah. You brought up the point a while ago of with the defensive line, Casey. You said that it's taking longer than people would like for it to take. I think that kind of also points to the rotational situation. Like guys cannot that learning curve is going to be much longer the less you're on the field. Same, I mean, you hear it all the time with quarterbacks. Quarterbacks got to get on the field. You can only do so much in practice. You got to get on the field and play and see it up close and read the defenses and experience the blitzes and all of that. And it's the same way with every other position. And if those defensive linemen, we draft a rookie this year, which I think we probably will because we almost have to. I think they just got to play. They need to get out on the field. And I know a lot of people bring up the Coach McDermott doesn't trust rookies. I'm more of the rookie's got to earn that trust. But at the same time, for them to earn that trust, they got to be on the field too. Like there's got to be some kind of give and take on both ends of that. But
we also got to remember that Brandon Beane, all like the Poona Fords, Tim Settles, Jordan Phillips, you know, all these guys on the interior especially have been people that project to take a step. They expect to get better than what they had shown on their previous teams. But they haven't. You know, it's been one of those, you know, Groot isn't the best, but we're going to polish him and make him into a great defensive lineman. And it seems like they kind of took their projection across the entire defensive line outside of Von Miller and Leonard Floyd to where, all right, you know, they may not be, you know, Joey Bosa or Aiden Hutchinson right out of the draft, but we believe in 3-4 years they could be. It just turns out some of those guys just turned out not to be great players, just average, you know, depth piece players. The, you know, Poona Fords and the Tim Settles of the world. Jordan Phillips, I know he had one good year with us, and that's about it. And he started this year off hot, but he just can't stay healthy. So it's just one of those. I feel like they got to start going more for what they're seeing, not for what they're hoping in the draft and in free agency.
Yeah, but you got to have some of that low risk, high reward too. You know, get a couple guys in there that you can go through, get them for a year at a discounted rate, and you know, hopefully that you can get them to turn the corner and become somebody better.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. I just think I personally chalk this year up to the health of the team. I truly think this year, like, we would have been better if we didn't lose so many people in such a short amount of time, or B, so many people, period. I mean, we had a lot of guys on the defensive line, linebacker, defensive backs that all had to play that aren't supposed to be playing. You know, I mean, to be frank, I mean, they're depth pieces, 4th, 5th, 6th at their position, and they're starting in the playoffs. So it's one of those, okay, these depth, they may not be barn burners, but at least we have good depth. But now they turn into our starters, and like we had nothing to show for it. So I think they're probably rehash and like revamp a lot of their depth in that sense, and that I feel like that's where they're gonna go younger. I feel like they'll probably bring back AJ. They'll probably bring back Daquan as as that solid front four along with Von Miller, and then they'll draft young. Like they'll start the depth that way.
Yeah, that I
Yeah,
like that. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I agree with Ron too. About getting the guys in there and stop with the rotational stuff, stay healthy, and if you're not getting game action, you're sitting on a bench rusting, right? So you got to kind of keep in the flow of things. But I don't think that's the biggest issue moving forward. Our D line, so that makes me feel a little bit better about losing the D line coach, and I guess that's really all I got to contribute to that.
It's we've kind of let the comments section take over the show because we keep going back to those comments.
Yeah.
Let's kind of shift here a little bit. We're kind of deep into this already and haven't even touched some of the things that we wanted to talk about today. But let's really quick. Let's go to let's just do this one. So yearly team and NFL awards. So John, I'll start with you. Who is your offensive and defensive MVP and your team MVP for this past season?
Defensive, I got to go Terrell Bernard. I mean, the way that he stepped up, and grew, after a few weeks into the season and just turned into a dominant force on this defense. I just wish he could have stayed healthy to see it all the way through. Offensively, I'd probably have to say Cook. We haven't had a running game in quite a while, and everything's been focused on Josh and passing and Diggs and everything else. But Josh is going to be Josh. It was nice to see Cook have a fantastic year and be somebody that we could lean on and throw other teams off. And what was the third part of your question there?
The team MVP, the overall.
I'll go Bernard again. I love him. I mean, nobody expected anything out of him this year, and he just stepped up and kept the receipts and shut a lot of people up.
Yeah, hey, it was really it was unbelievable when he stepped up.
Yeah,
and what he accomplished this season.
We'll go with you, Mike. What are your picks on those?
I mean, hard to argue with that. I was thinking Bernard, when we were thinking this idea before. Cook, he's great for the offense. Other than Cook, I mean, you got to say Josh, right? So, between them two guys, I can't copy. I don't want to copy John's answers, but
glad I went first.
Yeah. It's really. I think Bernard is definitely the obvious for the defense, and man, Cook he turned it on and had a season like you wouldn't believe as well.
You mentioned Cook. Let me throw this in here really quick because Maximilian just commented on this. Cook needs to hit the jugs machine this offseason, but great season overall. He had somebody brought up also he needs to hold on to the football. He had 2 fumbles all year, 2 lost fumbles, and he was actually I think it was 11th. No, yeah, 11th overall in highest catch rate amongst running backs in the NFL. He didn't necessarily have a drop problem. It was just, unfortunately, he had some big ones. There would have been touchdowns that maybe could have changed some games. But yeah, he caught the ball well. I think it was over 82%. Like I said, 11th best in overall. I think it was 11th best in the league and then 10th amongst running backs because Khalil Shakir was the only wide receiver in that top 10 for catch rate, highest catch rate.
Number 1.
Yeah, which is
There's
crazy.
another
Casey,
good one.
who's your MVPs, Casey?
So to go off what Matt said here in the comments, my MVP is going to be the big fat boys up front this year. Josh was the least sacked quarterback in the NFL this year. We were the only team, or one of the only teams, very few, to have all 5 starters along the offensive line for all 17 games this year. Like John said, it's the first time that we had 1,000-yard rusher since LaShawn McCoy. So, and none of that happens. Josh doesn't have 51 touchdowns, set the rushing quarterback touchdown record for a year, throw for another 34, 35 touchdowns. If that offensive line doesn't do its job, and hands down, the best offensive line that Josh has had in his career, and I am so glad that it's as young as, the fact that Dawkins is the oldest part of that line is phenomenal. So that's hands down my offensive MVP, and then my defensive MVP is Rasul Douglas, because I think if it wasn't for him, our defense wouldn't have played. Think of all the turnovers he caused, and as soon as he came to and played for Buffalo. The first game he caused a turnover. He was a giant catalyst for us going on that win streak to end the season to ultimately take the division from the Dolphins. I just think that he was a huge part and a big bolt of energy for this defense.
Yeah, I agree. Just a few more comments here. O-line went from one of the biggest questions going into one of the biggest strengths on the team. Good on Cromer. There's another one. This one's not about the line, but the narrative about Allen having a bad offseason baffles me. I'm with you, Matt. We kind of talked about that a little bit at the beginning of the show. I just don't get the slander on Josh Allen. It makes no sense to me. I don't care that he hasn't gone to Super Bowl. I don't care that Brock Purdy's going to Super Bowl before Allen. Yeah, moving on from that, because then we're going to end up on another 20-minute rant. Mine, you guys have already said them, which I guess, I should have maybe let myself go first, but yeah, I'm going to go with Bernard on the defensive MVP. I might have gone a different direction had it not been for that Chiefs game. I think that game really showed us how important he was to the defense. I think that game is completely different. I think we're having a different conversation today. Had Bernard been able to go and been healthy. On the offensive side, oh man,
just say
I guess I'll go a little different here, and I'm going to just go with Khalil Shakir.
Yeah,
because I do feel like
about
mid-season, which is about when we had the change in offensive coordinator, is when we started to see Shakir come through. And I feel like had he not come through the way he did, and with the way that Diggs fell off the cliff, our offense would have been in a world of hurt if not for Shakir. And I think Kincaid was a big part of that as well. However, because of Knox's presence, I feel like that kind of negated a little bit of what Kincaid should have been able to do. Going forward, I hope to see more of Kincaid in the future, but Knox isn't going anywhere. So that's another one of those things that I'm going to be, curious to see how Brady designs his offense around those two guys. The overall team MVP. Yeah, it is, especially with Knox. It keeps getting hurt every year, seems like. The overall MVP, I'm going to cop out here and go with Allen. We've all seen the numbers. He's accounted for like 80-something% of the team scores, led the league in touchdowns. So that's a cop out, I know, but you can't really go wrong with picking Allen as the overall team MVP either. We're probably going to end up going over, but that's okay.
No big deal.
I asked this question earlier in the week. What excites you for 2024? What did you see in 2023 that gets you excited about this coming season? I put that up on social media. Those of you listening, first of all, please hit the like, subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, do the same. If you're in the comments, I want to kind of hear what you guys think too. But Mike, let's start with you on this one. What's exciting you about 2024? obviously we don't have free agency still to come in the draft and everything, but from what you saw.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't see what there's not to get excited about. I mean, Bills still a really great team, regardless how this season ended. And we've been mentioning, different players we were just talking about, all really good reasons to get excited for next year. But like the fact that we're making moves. I know all teams are, but making moves already. Bobby Babich moving up, and we're just I'm excited to get our health back. I really am. I think I said that last week or the week before. So I'm excited to have a healthy team next year. Hopefully we get back the free agents, the few we've been talking about. But like this year, what we saw with Cook, I mean, like we were just talking about, just a spark to our offense this year. It was really amazing. We kind of just set us next level. I mean, a lot of great things the season Shakir had. So I don't know. It's just a lot of great things. We still have a lot of great things going for this team, even though our season ended, sooner than we thought it would.
Yeah. What about you, Casey?
It's going to be a surprising one, but I'm excited, and I hope he's on the team. I'm excited to see what Ty Johnson has at running back. I mean, we saw him come in at the end of the year. I mean, and play well. I mean, I played better than any of us really expected. So I'm really excited to see like what a tandem of he and Cook can do for an entire year with a full off season under Joe Brady. Just and mixing that with Kincaid and Diggs is definitely going to have. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but a bounce back year. I think Diggs is going to explode next year, along with the two young running backs. So I'm excited to see like what this offense as a whole is going to do next year.
Hold that thought, because next week's show I do want to kind of talk a little bit more about the pending free agents, because Ty Johnson is one of those, and we do have Hines coming back. So we'll stay tuned for that next week. We'll kind of touch on that. John, what about you? What do you got?
Just kind of to piggyback off of Casey's comments. Just the whole offense. I mean, that offensive line is going to have another year, of playing together. I think they're solid for us now, and they are going to be for years to come. Having hopefully Diggs come back, and Shakir, and seeing what Shorter does, and it'd be great if we could draft a receiver in the first round. When we know what Cook does and Ty Johnson, so it could be a very, very explosive offense. The one that we've all been hoping for week after week, when we come out 2 weeks in a row and we put up 30 plus points, and then we drop down to 17. But I think next year might be the year that we could get everything clicking with all the weapons that we'll have.
Stay consistent. I'm going to go through some of the comments from Twitter. The very first comment was, there's 20-something free agents. Teams are over the cap, so pretty screwed. It's a very optimistic point of view. Like I said, we'll talk more about free agency next week and those pending free agents, because I don't think we're screwed. But then there's a comment here, Josh Allen. Enough said. The offensive coordinator incorporated the running backs in the downfield passing attack. The offensive line will only get better having played together a full season. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing next year is Osiris Torrance. He did kind of hit a little bit of a rookie wall towards the end of the season, kind of struggled a little bit, but I think he's going to be an absolute stud next year. And going
he came
forward,
out and played
sure.
so well in the beginning of the year. Like, it was hard for
Yeah.
him to maintain that level of play as a rookie the entire year. I mean, it would have been, one for the record books if he could have done for 17 weeks what he did for 6.
I think I saw something where he played the most snaps of any offensive lineman, maybe in the league. I know with the Bills team, but I think he was at least one of the top 5 in total snaps, which is insane for a rookie.
Yeah.
Another one here, McD put a strong D on the field. Despite losing an All-Pro linebacker, a defensive tackle who was playing at an All-Pro level, a former All-Pro corner, and his highest paid edge playing below replacement level. This gives me faith they can invest in offense, and he'll still deliver a top half defense. There's a whole bunch of other comments here. Let me really quick address that. Invest in the offense. I'm sorry if you're a fan and you're expecting a lot of investment in the offense this year and you're tired of seeing high draft picks go for the defense. That's what's going to happen this year. There's just too many pieces missing on that defensive side, and the age too. We have 14 defensive players currently that are free agents, 8 of whom are on the defensive line. So just, get ready for a defensive heavy draft. Shakira Kincaid, offensive line, Brady at OC, Bernard getting back, Milano, Ed getting back, Daquan, hopefully, Rasul playing across from Trey, second year post injury for Vaughn, James Cook hitting Jugs machine. A lot of people were kind of getting on Cook about his catching, but go look at the numbers. He actually did pretty good. There was another question here, really quick, that I wanted to go back to. And, man, which one was it?
Comments?
Tre'Davious White.
Oh,
Somebody asked something about Tre'Davious White. What do you guys think, really quick? John first.
As far as the offseason, you're talking.
Yeah, his offseason, him coming back next year. What are your expectations?
Not much. I love Trey. I think he's a great player. But I'm more used to seeing him off the field than on the field. And we've been very deep. So I think that we really don't need him. And if they were to make a move with him, I'd be perfectly fine with it.
Could you see them moving him to safety?
Possibly. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't have too much faith in him because of his health.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a torn ACL followed by an Achilles, and Achilles is not easy to come back from, especially in that position. I brought up the possibility of him going to safety, or any of these corners for that matter, making that transition, especially with the fact that it looks like we're probably going to have Micah Hyde off the team with retirement, potentially Jordan Poyer as well. They're going to need some answers at the safety position. And these are all for shows down the road, because we're definitely going to get into all of this. But I brought up a corner moving to safety, and I got laughed at. Like, all the little laughy faces, the LMAOs and the LOLs, and you're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. But it could happen. I mean, it's happened before. Ronnie Lott moved over to safety. Woodson, one of the greatest corners to ever play, became one of the greatest safeties to ever play because he moved over. It happens all the time. Christian Benford even played some at safety his rookie year because they were considering moving him. If they don't have other answers, or at the safety position, especially if Poyer decides to go, and even if he doesn't, I'm not sure if he's not the same Poyer that he was. So we'll leave it at that. There's some other ones here. Yeah, Darryl Green went from corner to safety. There's somebody here. In the moment, this is what reminded me of this, but maybe Kyer Elam at safety and a surprise move could be exciting. The only thing with Elam moving to safety is unless he improves his tackling and becomes a little more, he just kind of looks scrawny to me to be a safety. I mean, I don't know. He can cover, I'm sure, but
eat more chicken wings.
That's Tre'Davious White. He's one of, if not the worst tackling corner that we have on our team.
That's true.
And if anybody was going to move to safety, I would rather it be Dane. I would most rather it be Dane Jackson, because he kind of has like the same body style and build as Poyer and Micah Hyde. He kind of just does a little bit of everything, and that's what you ask from a safety, is just to be that guy to just be the guy that can do a little bit of everything. And so I think he would be the one that I would like to see transition to safety.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. He's a free agent as well. Again, stay tuned for next week because we are going to start kind of getting more into that. We did want to do some Super Bowl predictions, but we're kind of out of time, so we'll do that for next week because we still have another week before the games or before the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
So stay tuned for that next week. And again, if you're listening, please hit the like on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Same thing over on Facebook, and check us out at the Mafia Cast on the Facebook page. Give us a follow there. We're up to 222. The goal is 500 by the start of the season, so we want to get to there. And Mike, you wanna give our guy John here a little shout out?
Yeah, I mean, I sat down, I chatted with John a little bit this weekend. I don't know, we chatted about a lot of things. I'm learning more about his store and stuff, and kind of, that kind of business he's in. But I mean, sports memorabilia. He's got a bunch of cards. I find out he's getting new cards every week, and I never realized how huge they are. And great gift ideas, things like that. Couple events. He does a monthly trade day at both stores, where you can come in and deal with other customers in the store and kind of trade items if you wanted to. The big sports expo coming up the end of next month. I don't know, just a lot of cool stuff, and you never know what you find in there. Sports stuff, Hollywood related stuff, you name it, the video game stuff. So
Yeah.
So very cool. John, if you want to elaborate, give everyone a little more details and things like that, go ahead, feel free.
Yeah, no, you got most of it. Next weekend, we're doing a trade day at both stores. So, you can bring your cards down, bring your kids down with their cards, trade with other collectors, trade with us. In a couple weeks at the end of the month, the 24th and 25th, we'll be at the Batavia show, and there'll be, Russell Douglas will be there. Thurman Thomas will be there. Keith McKellar. Couple other of those other sports guys from hockey and baseball and such. But yeah, I mean, we've always got something going on at either store. So come down to the Hamburg store and see me, or go to Rochester and give my son a hard time.
Go
John
meet
also
the guy
has a few
who
signings throughout the year at his stores too, as well. So keep an eye out for them.
Yep.
A chance to go meet the guy who the K gun was named after. I love it. Keith McKellar. A lot of people don't know that.
Yep.
But the K gun named after Keith McKellar, not Jim Kelly. That's awesome. It's good stuff. We're looking forward to a lot of great things coming with Game On Sports and John. And yeah, you guys got anything else you want to add? We're already over, so who cares? You got anything more?
I'm good. Casey's muted again.
Casey's muted.
We can just end it there.
I said, Spence, let's get on this pink hair thing. We got to get this done and over
Oh, yeah,
with. This
Casey
mop
can't
is
wait to
getting
dye his hair
long.
pink.
This needs to
Maybe-
happen. So
Are we doing it live on the show? Is that the thing, or are we just going to have
gotta.
Spence on after you've done it?
No, we got to have everyone see it. Everyone's got to see it.
Yeah. Spence and I,
All
we've
right.
talked a little bit, but I need him to get back in contact with me.
All right, looking forward to that. All right. So, yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Like I said, we're going to talk some more about the free agency, some of the players that we have as pending free agents, where the Bills are as far as their cap goes. And we'll see you all next week. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. Tell your friends.
Thanks, Angel.